thrown out into the cold by the man who vowed to love her. Faye thought her story ended on that frozen sidewalk. But when a pale stranger with moonlit eyes stopped his car and whispered, "Come with me," her shattered world shifted, and destiny opened its door. Welcome back, my beautiful family and friends. If you're hooked in and you're ready to enjoy this story, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from, because tomorrow I will be giving you another story just as interesting as this one, and you don't want to miss it. Now, let us begin. The night Faye Lorne's life collapsed began like any other, quiet, predictable, painfully ordinary. Crescent Hill, Massachusetts shimmered under early winter snow, street lamps glowing faintly through the drifting flakes. She had spent the day decorating the bakery where she worked, hanging soft lights and evergreen garlands, reminding herself that holidays were still worth celebrating, even if her own home no longer felt like one. She walked up her driveway, expecting silence. Michael rarely came home early anymore, but the porch light was on, and for a moment, it sparked a foolish kind of hope. Maybe he'd cook dinner. Maybe they would talk. Maybe he'd smile the way he used to, the way that made her feel like she mattered. But when she pushed open the front door, the scene didn't match the hope. Suitcases. 3 of them. His, not hers. Michael stood in the living room, wearing a navy coat and an expression she hadn't seen before, cold, final, determined. Her heart dropped into her stomach even before he opened his mouth. "We need to talk," he said. Her fingers trembled as she set her bag on the floor. "About what?" "You're scaring me. I'm leaving." The words fell heavy and without hesitation. "I can't keep doing this, Faye. I want a real family. I want children. And you can't give me that." The hit landed like an open-handed slap. Faye blinked slowly, trying to breathe through the sudden tightness in her chest. "Michael, we talked about this. We're trying. The doctor said it's almost impossible," he cut in sharply. "And I'm tired of pretending I'm okay with that." "Pretending?" she whispered. He looked everywhere except at her. "I met someone." Every part of her went still. "She's younger. She wants kids. She's already pregnant." The room tilted. Pregnant. Another woman carrying the child she had cried and prayed for. The child she felt guilty for never giving him. Her legs felt weak, the walls closing in. "So you're just replacing me?" she said, voice breaking even as she tried to hold herself together. He sighed as though she were the inconvenience in the room. "I filed for divorce, and I need you out of the house tonight." Her heart cracked. "Tonight? Michael, it's freezing. I have nowhere to. Your things are already packed." He gestured toward cardboard boxes by the door. "Please don't make this harder than it has to be." The humiliation slammed into her before the cold did. He ushered her out of the house they built together, not even looking back as she stumbled into the snow. The door clicked shut with the same finality as a coffin lid. And just like that, her marriage, her future, her sense of worth disappeared into the winter air. Faye wrapped her coat tighter around herself and sat on a bench down the street, her tears freezing before they even fell properly. Snowflakes clung to her golden hair, her cheeks pale from the cold. Cars passed by, their headlights slicing through the night, but none slowed. She wasn't sure how long she sat there. Time became meaningless. Pain was the only thing that marked the minutes. Her phone buzzed once, her mother messaging, "Hope you're doing okay, sweetheart." Faye didn't even know how to answer. She curled forward, burying her face in her gloves, feeling like her soul had been wrung out. That was when she heard the sound. A car slowing, tires crunching softly against snow. Faye looked up. A black SUV had pulled over near the curb. The window rolled down, and a man leaned slightly toward the cold air. Not just any man. He was striking, fair-skinned almost to the point of luminescence, pale hair pulled back neatly, sharp jawline, eyes like winter skies, icy, ancient, and impossible to look away from. He looked like he didn't belong to this world, his presence too still, too quiet, too deliberate. "Are you all right?" he asked. The voice was deep, velvety, steady in a way that made her throat tighten. Faye swiped a shaky hand across her cheeks. I'm fine." "You're not," he said quietly, stepping out of the vehicle. He moved with an impossible grace, boots sinking into snow without a sound. He wore a dark coat that contrasted with his pale skin, the collar dusted with falling snowflakes. Faye tensed. I'm okay. Really, you shouldn't stop for strangers. It's dangerous to be outside alone, he said gently, yet firmly. Especially at this hour. Especially in this cold. She forced a small laugh. I don't have much of a choice. His eyes softened. What happened? Faye hesitated. She didn't know him an explanation, but the words spilled anyway, fragile and raw. My husband threw me out, she whispered, because I can't give him a child. Something flickered in his eyes. Anger, pity, understanding, she couldn't tell. But it wasn't judgment. Come with me, he said softly, but with a certainty that startled her. You shouldn't be out here. She blinked. I don't know you. My name is Lucian. He paused, watching her carefully. And I swear on everything I am, you'll be safe. There was something different about him. Something calm, something ancient, and something broken inside her recognized something broken inside him. She hesitated only a moment more before her voice cracked. I don't have anywhere else to go. Lucian extended a gloved hand toward her. Then let me take you somewhere warm. Her breath trembled as she placed her hand in his. His skin was cold, colder than the winter air, but somehow his presence radiated a strange comfort. He helped her stand, steadying her carefully as if she were made of glass. Halfway to the car, Faye's heart wavered. Why are you helping me? For a moment, he looked away, snow falling softly on his pale hair. Because once, he said quietly, someone found me when I had no one. And I've never forgotten what it meant. There was a vulnerability in his voice that didn't match his intimidating appearance. A truth she sensed, even if she didn't understand it. He opened the passenger door for her. I won't hurt you. She believed him, without knowing why. Inside the warm car, she noticed a small blanket and a child's stuffed fox in the back seat. She blinked. You have a kid? His expression softened. My daughter, Ilara. Faye nodded slowly. So you're a single dad? His smile was faint but real. Yes. The moment stretched, comforting and surreal. As Lucian pulled back onto the road, Faye's mind spun, but her body relaxed for the first time that night. She watched Crescent Hill blur past the window. Shops closing, Christmas lights glowing, people hurrying home. Home! The word stung. Lucian glanced at her gently. Do you have anyone you want me to take you to? No, she whispered. No one who would understand. He nodded, as if that made perfect sense. The car hummed quietly through the snowy streets. Faye finally exhaled, letting silence settle between them. It wasn't awkward. It wasn't heavy. It was strangely safe. In the middle of the drive, Lucian spoke again, his voice softer. Do you want to talk? Or would silence help? She swallowed. If I talk, I might cry. If I stay quiet, I might also cry. Cry then, he said gently. You're allowed to. Her eyes burned, and she turned to the window, letting tears fall silently. Lucian didn't rush her, didn't question her grief, didn't try to fix it. He just drove. After a long stretch of quiet, he asked, Do you believe some pains happen to lead us to where we truly belong? She looked at him, surprised by the depth of the question. I don't know, she whispered. Do you? Yes, he said with certainty, although it often takes time to see it. His words lingered, touching a fragile place inside her. As they approached a long, tree-lined road leading toward the wealthy outskirts of Crescent Hill, he spoke again, more carefully this time. Faye, do you trust me enough to let me help you tonight? Her chest tightened. Her world had fallen apart. Her heart had been thrown away like trash. Her future was a blank page soaked in tears. And yet, this pale stranger with winter eyes felt like the only solid thing left. She nodded. Lucian exhaled softly, relief flickering across his features. Good, he murmured, because I think your life is about to change in ways you never imagined. The words hung between them, stirring something deep within her. Fear, hope, curiosity, and something she couldn't yet name. Snow continued to fall, painting the world white as his car disappeared down the quiet road. And for the first time all night, Faye felt the faintest spark of something she thought she'd lost forever. Possibility. If you were in Faye's place, heartbroken, cold, and betrayed, would you trust a stranger who offered help or walk away? Comment your thoughts below. Faye expected Lucian to take her to a hotel or maybe to one of those emergency shelters she'd seen posted on community boards. Anywhere temporary. Anywhere she could disappear until the world stopped spinning. But as his SUV glided down a quiet, gated road on the northern edge of Crescent Hill, she realized he wasn't taking her somewhere temporary at all. Massive pine trees lined the driveway, branches dusted with snow, stretching out like silent guardians. The deeper they drove, the quieter the world became, until even the sound of the wind felt muted. Up ahead, through the snowfall, a tall house appeared. No, not a house. A mansion. Elegant, modern, and towering. Its windows glowed with soft golden light against the white winter backdrop. The building stood 3 stories high, framed by stone pillars and trimmed with black steel. It looked like something from a luxury magazine, not the kind of place a stranger in despair was ever invited into. Faye startled. "This is your home?" Lucian parked near the wide steps leading to the front entrance. Snowflakes clung to his pale hair as he turned to her. "Yes, and tonight it's a refuge." Her chest tightened. "Lucian, this looks like somewhere I shouldn't even walk past without signing permission." A faint smile softened his features. "It's just a home, Faye. Walls and rooms. What matters is the intention behind opening it." He stepped out first, coming around to open her door. The gentlemanlike gesture was so unexpected that her eyes stung again. No one had opened a door for her in years. Not since her marriage slowly turned into a battlefield where she fought alone. Lucian extended his hand. She hesitated only a moment before taking it. His palm was cold, unnaturally cold, but steady, grounding. They walked toward the entrance, and before he even touched the handle, the door opened from within. A small girl stood there, pale as moonlight, with long silvery blonde hair cascading down her back and eyes the color of frosted glass. She wore soft pajamas covered in tiny stars, hugging a plush fox tightly to her chest. "Alara," Lucian said gently. Her expression lit up when she saw him. "Daddy, you're back." She rushed forward, and Lucian kneeled to catch her in a gentle embrace. Faye watched them, surprised at how tender and warm the moment felt despite their cool, almost otherworldly appearance. Then Alara peered over his shoulder at Faye, curiosity sparkling in her eyes. "Who's she?" the little girl asked. Lucian shifted so Faye was in her line of sight. "This is Faye. She's a friend who needed help." Alara blinked slowly, studying her with an intensity that made Faye feel oddly seen. But the child's voice was soft when she replied, "Hi, Miss Faye." Faye managed a small smile. "Hi, sweetheart." Lucian rose, placing a gentle hand on his daughter's shoulder. "Why aren't you in bed?" "It's late. I couldn't sleep," Alara murmured, leaning into him. "My chest feels weird." A flash of concern crossed Lucian's face. He picked her up lightly. "I'll take you upstairs." "Faye, come in. You don't need to wait in the cold." Faye stepped inside, warmth sweeping around her like a blanket. The interior of the home was breathtaking. High ceilings, clean lines, marble floors that reflected soft lighting. A giant staircase spiraled upward, and subtle winter decorations, silver ornaments, frosted branches, gave the space an elegant but homely feel. Not cold, not lonely, not the kind of wealth that showed off. The kind that protected. Lucian carried Alara up the stairs, pausing halfway. "Make yourself comfortable," he told Faye. "I'll be right down." When he disappeared upstairs, the silence settled again. Faye let out a shaky exhale, her eyes darting around. She still felt as if she didn't belong. Too broken, too displaced, too human in a house that suddenly felt ancient. She paced lightly through the living area, touching nothing, willing herself not to cry again. Everything had shifted too fast. Her life ripped apart in one moment, only for a stranger to pull her into a new world the same night. She rubbed her arms, tried to warm herself even though the heat was on. "Is this real?" she whispered, nearly laughing. "Did I seriously just get picked up by a single dad vampire in a luxury car?" Her laugh broke, almost collapsing into a sob. Before she could spiral, footsteps descended the staircase. Lucian approached, his expression unreadable but gentle. "She's asleep now," he said. Faye swallowed. "Is she sick?" He paused. "It's complicated, but she'll be all right tonight." He motioned for her to sit, guiding her toward a plush sofa in the spacious living room. He sat across from her, hands folded, eyes steady on her trembling form. "Faye," he said softly, "you're safe here." That was all it took for her composure to shatter. She covered her mouth, tears flooding her eyes. I'm sorry. I don't mean to fall apart like this. I don't know what's wrong with me tonight." Lucian leaned forward, voice calm and soothing. "You've lost your home, your trust, and someone you thought loved you. Nothing is wrong with you. You're grieving." She wiped her cheeks, embarrassed. "I shouldn't be crying in a stranger's living room." "You're not with a stranger," he said, something deep flickering in his eyes. "Not anymore." Her breath caught. "Why?" she asked quietly. "Why are you being kind to me? You don't know me." He held her gaze. "Because I know what it feels like to be abandoned by someone who promised love." She stilled. He rarely spoke about himself. She could feel that. So the honesty in his words carried weight. "My wife died when Alara was 3, he continued. "One night, I went from husband to single father. I remember sitting on the floor with my daughter, crying in my arms, thinking I'd failed her, thinking I was alone forever." His voice shook slightly, barely noticeable, but enough for Faye to notice. "Pain recognizes pain, Faye, and I can't watch anyone else drown in the cold." Her tears returned, but slower this time, fueled by something gentler, relief. "Thank you," she whispered. "You don't need to thank me." They sat in silence for a long moment. The room glowed softly, warm lamplight reflecting off polished floors. Outside, snow continued falling, muffling the world beyond the windows. Finally, Lucian stood. "Come. You need warmth and rest." He showed her to a guest suite down the hall. Elegant, understated, incredibly comfortable. Cream-colored bedding, velvet cushions, a fur-lined throw blanket draped across the foot of the bed. A soft lamp glowed next to the nightstand. "I hope this is suitable," he said. Faye stared in disbelief. "Suitable?" "Lucian, I've never stayed anywhere this beautiful in my life." He gave her a gentle smile. "Then I'm glad your first night in a long while can be someplace peaceful." She stepped inside slowly, almost reverently, touching the fabric of the bedspread as if confirming it was real. Lucian lingered at the doorway. "If you need anything, water, food, someone to talk to, just call for me." "You really mean that?" she asked softly. "Yes," he answered simply. Her chest tightened painfully. Kindness felt so foreign she didn't know how to hold it without shaking. Before he left, she whispered, "Lucian." "Why me?" His eyes remained locked on hers. "Because you needed someone," he said, "and because I think we met tonight for a reason." The door closed gently behind him. Faye sank onto the bed, hugging the blanket around her. Her body felt heavy with exhaustion, but her mind buzzed with confusion, fear, and something like unexpected hope. She stared at the ceiling for a long time, tears drying slowly on her cheeks. Somewhere down the hall, she heard Lucian softly humming to Alara. The sound was haunting and soothing all at once. For the first time since her life shattered into pieces, Faye closed her eyes and didn't fall asleep from desperation. She fell asleep from safety. Morning arrived gently, sunlight slipping past the tall windows. Faye blinked awake, surrounded by warmth. For a moment, she forgot everything. Forgot the heartbreak, the humiliation, the cold sidewalk. Then memory rushed in, and she gasped softly. But before she could sink into the ache, a knock sounded on the door. "Faye!" Lucian's voice, calm and velvety. "May I come in?" "Why, yes." He pushed the door open slightly, carrying a tray, tea, toast, fruit, a small bowl of warm oatmeal, steaming gently. "I didn't know what you'd prefer," he said, setting it on the bedside table. "So I made a bit of everything." Her mouth fell open. "You cooked this?" He smiled faintly. "I can manage a few things." Faye shook her head in disbelief. "You didn't have to do any of this." "I know," he said simply, "but I wanted to." Their eyes held for a moment too long, until soft footsteps echoed in the hallway. Alara peeked into the room, clutching her fox. "Daddy, can Miss Faye have breakfast with us?" Lucian looked at Faye, giving her the choice. Warmth spread through her chest. "I'd love that." Alara beamed, tugging on her father's sleeve as if to hurry him. In the dining room, everything felt easy, unexpectedly easy. Alara asked questions with polite curiosity, and Faye answered each one gently. Lucian listened quietly, occasionally correcting his daughter, occasionally looking at Faye in a way that made her heart flutter with confusion. Halfway through breakfast, Alara looked at Faye and said, "You're pretty." Faye blushed. "Thank you, sweetheart. You're very pretty too." Alara nodded. "Daddy said we should always help people who look sad. Were you sad?" Lucian's eyes widened slightly. "Alara, it's okay," Faye said softly, brushing a lock of hair behind her ear. "Yes, I was sad." "Do you feel better now?" the girl asked innocently. Faye looked at Lucian, then at the warm table, then at the soft glow of morning. "I think so," she whispered. Alara smiled proudly. "Good. Daddy fixes sad things." Lucian cleared his throat, embarrassed. "Alara," she giggled. Faye's heart softened, a crack of light slipping into a place she thought was permanently dark. A question formed quietly in her mind, a reflection she couldn't ignore. What if the person you're meant to be with finds you at your lowest, not your best? What would you do if life gave you a second chance from the hands of a stranger? As she ate, warmth spreading through her body, she realized something she never expected to feel so soon. Maybe she wasn't broken. Maybe she wasn't unworthy. Maybe she wasn't alone. And maybe, just maybe, this vampire with winter eyes wasn't the danger she had feared. Maybe he was the beginning. The night clung to the edges of Silver Cross like a living thing, thick with fog curling around rooftops and pine trees, as if the whole town held its breath. Twilight faded into the deep blue of midnight, and a strange stillness washed over the streets. Too quiet, too still, like the world sensed what was coming. Inside Lucian's mansion, the glow of pale moonlight streamed through the tall Gothic windows, illuminating corridors lined with silver ornaments, ancient stones, and flickering blue lamps that moved with otherworldly grace. The air buzzed faintly with power, vampiric, ancient, royal. Tonight was no ordinary night. Tonight the king was choosing, and everyone in his world knew it. The circle of shadows. Faye stood before a towering mirror in the grand hallway, trying to steady her breath as she smoothed the soft cream-colored dress Lucian had picked for her. It fell in waves over her hips, elegant but simple, nothing dramatic, nothing loud. She looked like herself, and yet she didn't. Not after everything she had survived. Not after everything Lucian had shown her. A low knock sounded behind her. When she turned, little Arya stood there, dressed in pale lavender, soft curls bouncing around her porcelain cheeks. Her vampire blue eyes glowed faintly as they locked onto Faye. "Daddy wants you," Arya whispered, her voice sweet but with an old, royal authority beneath it. "He said the council must meet, and you're the reason." Faye swallowed. "The council?" Arya nodded. "They're angry. Some of them don't want you here. They think humans hurt us." Then, as if realizing how harsh her own words sounded, she stepped forward and grabbed Faye's hand. "But I want you here." Faye's heart softened. "I'm not going anywhere." Arya squeezed her hand tighter. "Daddy said they have to accept you, or he'll destroy everything in their way." A shiver traveled down Faye's spine. Love from a vampire king was no small thing. The gathering. The council chamber was carved from marble as pale as bone. Massive pillars stretched toward a domed ceiling etched with ancient symbols. 12 council members, vampires centuries older than Lucian, stood in a half-circle. And in the center of the room, Lucian waited for her. His white hair was tied back loosely, shimmering like winter moonlight. His pale skin glowed faintly, his eyes burning a cold, beautiful silver. Even in a simple midnight black suit, he radiated power, so overwhelming the air felt thinner around him. When Faye stepped into the room, everything went silent, as if the world paused, as if every supernatural heartbeat in the room synchronized to his. Lucian stepped forward, offering his hand not with kingly formality, but with vulnerable devotion. Come stand with me, Faye. Her fingers slid into his, and a hush rippled across the chamber. Some shocked, some offended, some simply frightened by how fiercely he held her. A council elder stepped forward. Lucian, what you ask violates our law. Lucian's voice was calm. Then the law will bend. Another elder hissed softly. A human cannot be queen. Faye's stomach tightened. Lucian's eyes darkened like the heart of a storm. She is not just a human, he said. She is the woman I choose. A ripple of gasps. Arya, standing beside them, lifted her small chin proudly. And she's my mommy. The room erupted into whispers. The truth that broke her. Suddenly, an elder pointed at Faye. And what will she give this kingdom? A line? An heir? She is barren. Faye froze. The words were a slap. Not again. Not here. Not in front of Lucian, Arya, the entire council. She felt her throat tighten, shame pouring into her chest. She had accepted Lucian didn't judge her. But hearing it out loud, hearing it used as proof she was unworthy, Lucian didn't even let her react. He moved with supernatural speed. In less than a heartbeat, he stood before the elder, gripping him by the throat. Not hard enough to kill, but hard enough to silence. If anyone, Lucian's voice thundered, speaks of her pain as if it makes her less, they will not live to regret it. Silence swept through the chamber. Faye blinked as tears slipped down her cheeks. Not from fear, but from being defended in a way she had never known. Lucian returned to her side, wiping the tears with a thumb. You were never broken, he whispered. You were mishandled. Her heart nearly cracked open. The blood oath. The eldest council member finally spoke, voice steady but cautious. If you intend to bind your life to hers, the kingdom must witness it. The blood oath must be sworn. Lucian nodded once. Call the kingdom. Within minutes, the chamber opened into the night garden outside. Lanterns floating in the misty air, hundreds of vampires gathering silently beneath ancient silver trees. A path formed for Lucian and Faye. Faye stood trembling, overwhelmed, but not in fear. Lucian took her hands, lowering them between them. Faye, he murmured, voice soft enough only she could hear. This vow doesn't chain you. You are free. Always. But I swear mine, because I want you. Her breath hitched. He sliced his palm lightly, silver blood glowing faintly. Faye stared, unsure. Lucian lifted her hand gently. You don't have to bleed. Just place your hand over mine. She did. Silver blue light erupted around their hands, warm and fierce. The crowd gasped. The council inhaled sharply. Arya smiled like her heart might burst. Lucian's voice echoed through the night. I swear my eternity to hers. My kingdom to hers. My daughter to hers. Whoever touches her touches me. Faye's entire body trembled with emotion, with disbelief, with relief. This wasn't marriage. This was something deeper, royal, supernatural, eternal. Faye whispered softly, voice breaking. And I swear to stand with you, as long as I breathe. The light exploded upward like a pillar. When it faded, it was done. She was bound to him, he to her. The kiss that sealed a kingdom. Lucian cupped her face, whispering, You're mine now, not because I claimed you, but because you chose me. Faye smiled, trembling. And you're mine. The kiss he gave her was soft at first, then deep, consuming, ancient and hungry with devotion. The crowd bowed their heads, not in fear, but in reverence. A queen had been chosen, a human queen, his queen. Arya ran to them, throwing her arms around Faye's waist. We're a family now, she whispered, and for the first time in years, Faye fell whole. Epilogue. 6 months later. Faye stood on a balcony overlooking Silver Cross, now her home. Her dress fluttered in the wind as she placed a hand over her stomach. Lucian slipped behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist, sensing instantly what changed in her heartbeat. His voice trembled. Faye, she nodded, tears spilling. Yes, Lucian, I'm pregnant. His breath broke. His knees almost buckled. Arya squealed from the doorway. I'm gonna be a big sister. Lucian buried his face in Faye's neck, whispering, You healed me, and I healed you. And under the moonlit sky, surrounded by the ancient kingdom that now loved her, Faye realized. She wasn't thrown away. She was found, chosen, and forever loved. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.